Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video doing JMA Friday. As always on a Friday we have a look at weather next month. It's going to take us through most of April. We'll be going into the last stages of the month with this update. So we're going to have a look at the JMA and then have a look at CFS-V2, see what they're both showing for the month ahead. Going on with that, just very quick to say that websites we use for the videos, particularly the longer range videos, most of the links to those can be found on the links page. So if you want to check out any of these charts yourself, you certainly can do that via GazWeather's links page. We'll start off with the JMA. We'll start off with 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods, and then we'll have a look at the CFS-V2. So we're going to start off with the Northern Hemisphere view, first of all, from the JMA. This is the North Pole just here. That's the top of the world. And underneath it, of course, we've got mid-latitude. So we've got America over here. We've got Asia over here. And the UK and Europe is over there. So 500 millibars is an area in the atmosphere with high pressure and low pressure being moved around by the jets. It's sort of a boundary layer where weather takes place, if you like, the boundary of the atmosphere. But that extrapolates to low pressure and the brighter colours, sort of orange and yellow, those colours are extrapolating to high pressure. These are broken down into week periods, so the first week takes us from today, the 24th, through to the 31st of March. Quite clear what's going on with this one. We've got a big ridge of above average height centring right over top of not just the UK, but many central and northern parts of Europe as well. And then we've got low pressure extending through the Atlantic and also up to the north of this ridge. The jet stream and the flow is doing something rather like that. So we are placed on the mild side of the jet. We're underneath a ridge. That looks really good if you want dry and fine conditions for spring. Now we go through to week 2. This is going to take us from the 31st through to the 7th of April, so 31st of March to the 7th of April. Still lots of anticyclonic influences with this one. The ridge is centering more towards the east of us. We've got this trough out to the west. The flow is doing something rather like that. So it's still placed on the mild side of the jet stream. And I think that looks as though it could be really quite warm as we go through into the start of April. Lots of dry, very warm conditions. The jet stream is possibly a little bit closer to us, so it might be a bit more unsettled, especially so for the west and the north. But for the south and the east, close to that ridge there, I think we get a fair amount of fine conditions going on into the start of April. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4, which takes us from the 7th through to the 21st of April, so into the second half of next month. We find that we've got this ridge again. It's out over the country, out to the east, and also extending to the west as well. We've got low pressure up to the north, the jet streams. That looks like we're still on the mild side of it. It is closer to us, so again, this might be turning a bit more unsettled as we're heading into the middle phase and the second half of April. But overall, these charts look pretty decent, really, for this early in the year. It looks like you get a lot of dry weather. Won't be continuously dry, and especially for the northwest, there will be rain at times. But for the time of year, that looks really good. And certainly no sign of anything particularly cold. There's no sign of northern blocking on any of these charts, so pretty mild, if not perhaps at times quite warm conditions going into the second half of April. Let's have a look at mid-latitude and tropical view. Then the British Isles is just here in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you're looking at it. Reminder of the 500 millibar height anomaly for this first week, 24th through to 31st of March. We've got a big ridge centering around the UK. So we expect this to be pretty dry. That's what the model indicates. Look at that. We've got below average precipitation, quite significantly below average precipitation anomalies actually for this last week of March. Temperature anomalies are coming out generally warmer than average, especially so to the north. At the very far south, you probably can't make it out, but to the very far south, it is a little bit cooler there. Actually, that's probably because there's a bit of an easterly wind, a bit of an easterly influence down across the south around the southern side of this ridge. But overall, the temperature anomaly is looking quite mild, if not fairly warm, for the coming week. Week 2 takes us from the 31st of March to the 7th of April. The ridge is centred rather more to the east of us, with low pressure out to the west, and maybe a little bit more influence from the jet stream as well. So I suspect this won't be as dry, and that's what we see actually. We find that it's a bit of a north-south split setting up. So for Scotland and Northern Ireland, it actually looks a little bit wetter than average. For England and Wales, it's still coming out drier than average through that first week of the month. And then we go through to a temperature anomaly, and that comes out significantly milder, if not warmer than average, for the first week of April as well. And then weeks 3 and 4, which with the height anomaly, it's looking like this. We've got the ridge extending through the country and going to the east as well. The jet stream looks like we're still on the mild side of the jet stream, but it probably is having a little bit more influence. Precipitation, it doesn't look too bad really. It's a little bit wetter than average for far north of Scotland, but most places actually coming out slightly on the drier than average side. And the temperature anomaly, that is coming out more or less milder than average as well. So it looks like we've got a very, very pleasant month coming up with lots of dry weather and fairly warm temperatures as well, if we believe the JMA. Let's see where the CFS V2 is in agreement. These again, 500 millibar heights, broken down into weekly periods. The first weekly period will take us from the 24th to 30th of March. We find that we've got a ridge here around many central, northern and western parts of Europe. Lots of dry weather will be expected with that. The flow's probably coming in that sort of direction. And the jet stream is doing something a bit like that. So placed on the mild side of the jet, we're under a ridge. That looks really good for the final week of the month. We go through into the week 2, which is the 31st of March to the 6th of April. Very much in agreement with what the JMA is doing, really. Lots of high pressure influences. Low pressure is up to the north. The jet stream and the flow going something rather like that. So again, you would expect a little bit more influence from the jet stream from the north and west of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Might be a bit more unsettled there. But down in the southeast, close to this ridge, I think you get lots of fine conditions. Week 3, which is the 7th through to the 13th of April, that takes the ridge more to the west of us, actually. So again, the jet stream, something like that. We're still placed on the mild side of the jet. Might be a little bit more unsettled for the north and west. This is very good agreement, by the way, between these two models. This is more or less what the JMA is doing for this time frame. So we've got good agreement today for the way forward. And then we go through to week 4. Now, this is a change. This is different. This is the 14th to the 20th of April. And notice the red colours are centering to the south of Greenland and around Iceland, and also extending up here. There's below average heights around France and Spain. This is a substantial change on anything we've seen so far. The flow and the jet stream going something rather like that, I think. So this is starting to push in easterly or possibly even northeasterly flow. So that could be quite a bit colder there through that middle phase of April. It may be we have a lot of dry and fairly warmish conditions through the first half of April. We get to the middle part of the month and things turn substantially cooler. That is how things will play out, I think, if the CFS is correct on this. So the temperature anomaly for the next week with the CFS is looking like this. It's coming out above average, milder than average temperatures for the next week from the 24th to the 30th of March. Week 2, which is the 31st of March to the 6th of April, that also coming out with significantly milder than average temperatures. Week 3, that's coming out milder than average as well. Really quite a warm start to April, if this is right. Week 4, it is still above average, just, but clearly it's substantially cooler compared to the previous weeks. And if we come over to central parts of Europe, actually it's going a little bit colder than average there. So it does imply that things will turn colder there than the middle part of April. It's 4 weeks away, it's a month away, so it's not worth being overly concerned about. But of course, the middle of April is going to be bringing out lots of fruit blossom. Things will really be ramping up in the gardens and in the fields. So a cold snap in the middle of April is not what we want. But that is really what the CFS is indicating this morning, and not really in agreement with the JMA. And precipitation finally, so the coming week looks significantly drier than average, also with the CFS V2. Then week 2 turns a little bit wetter than average in the north, so Scotland and Northern Ireland getting a little bit more influence from that jet stream. England and Wales coming out closer to average, but it does look a little bit more unsettled there through early April compared to the JMA. And then we start to lose the signal as we go into week 3, as we always do. The signal becomes weaker. I think, if anything, it's probably hinting at being on the drier side. And then week 4, again, the signal is weakening a lot, so there's no real signal. Perhaps, if anything, again, a little bit on the drier side, especially for Scotland. But overall, the signal does get weaker the further out we go. So we've got fairly good agreement on the way for the rest of March and into April. It looks like you have a lot of settled weather with a fair amount of high pressure influences, especially in the next week. Quite warm as well. We get through to early April. It's also a little bit more unsettled, particularly so to the north and west. The south and east probably still mostly dry. And I think, reading between the two models, actually, after a more unsettled interlude, we might find high pressure comes back again. If anything, in towards the second week of April, we might get another burst of really quite warm and dry weather. And then there's just a question mark, it's only that, a little bit of a question mark, about the middle part of April. Will we get a cold snap? That's what the CFS is indicating. If we do, it isn't what we want for gardeners, growers, and anybody concerned about wildlife. So let's wait and see on that. It's a long way off, and it's not really worth being too concerned about. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Tomorrow it's a weekend forecast, and we'll also have our ENSO update for March. We'll see how things are developing in the Pacific Ocean. So come back for the updates tomorrow. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.